Hey, everybody, I'm Dr. Seth, psychologist. And today I want to talk a little bit about the first steps that a person can take to start healing from codependency. Codependency is really a major issue and can impact a person's emotional life so significantly. So it's not something that you can, of course, just snap your fingers and it goes away magically. It's not something that can go away or heal quickly. It's going to take some time. This is a learned way of sort of being in relationships, and it can really take a significant chunk of time to learn how to have different expectations in relationships, to learn how to be different in relationships than the way you've sort of operated in this or in other codependent relationships before. So, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to talk about step number one, and that is simply to start healing from codependency. What you want to do is you want to continue to learn more about what codependency is. And actually, by watching this video, you're doing that right now. So, learn more about what codependency means, what the feelings are that often go along with it, why an individual becomes codependent, or why an individual deals with this issue in their relationships today. I'll talk to some degree about that in this video, but a lot of times there is an underlying fear in codependency. There is a tremendous fear that another person you're in the relationship with, that they can't survive without you or they need you, but also a fear that you have about you not being able to be okay on your own either. So there's a lot of fear. Getting educated, learning more about the fear that goes along with codependency, about a lot of the other feelings that go with codependency, is a first step. And again, I want to remind you, you're already doing that now. So these steps aren't something that you need to put on the calendar and think about, oh, this is going to take forever. You can say to yourself, actually, I'm doing the work right now. I'm starting to do the work to try to heal right now. That is step number one. Step number two is adding new positive coping skills that you haven't been using previously. Adding new coping skills. Okay. So if I were to ask you or anyone else, what do you do that's positive to cope with sort of negative feelings that you may have? Somebody may say, well, I go for a run or I listen to music. Okay, those are all good coping skills. But the thing is, we want to add to those coping skills. We want to have a whole menu of coping skills that we can turn to when we need them. Think when you go, for example, to a restaurant. When you go to a restaurant, there's not one item on the menu, there's a whole menu of types of things so that in that moment you decide, what do I feel like now? What might work to sort of quench my thirst and satiate my appetite now? And then you decide. The same thing really should apply to your menu of coping skills. So you want to have, like, let's say 14 different ones or 21 different coping skills that you can use in a week. So in a given moment, you can think, what should I use right now? When you have moments where you feel disconnected or anxious or afraid in your codependent relationship about how you're doing, how the other person is doing, what might happen, there's so much anxiety that goes along with codependent relationships. You, instead of just going to your one or two coping skills, because you are adding new coping skills starting now, you can decide, well, which one am I going to use now? And maybe in an hour, you'll go to use another coping skill. And you know what? Writing them down, like on an actual menu, can be extremely helpful. So, examples of things that you could add to your coping skills: you could add a long walk, you could add a new type of physical exercise, you could add maybe drawing or making art, you could add writing, you could add calling a friend on the phone and talking about your feelings if that's not something that you would normally do, letting someone know how you're feeling. There's an infinite list of coping skills that you can imagine. But here is the point that you need to remember: add. Add to your existing list of coping skills. That is the second point in starting to heal from codependency. Now, the third step that I want to talk about in starting to heal from codependency is connecting more with people that you may not have connected with recently. Connecting more with friends, connecting maybe it's more with family members. Do some of your good friends, do some of your family members you're close with, do they know that you are emotionally struggling with something significant in your life, like codependency? Do the people in your life know that you have found yourself operating in a relationship in a way that you feel anxious, that you feel nervous, that you feel sometimes like you're on an emotional roller coaster? Do some of the people in your life know the intensity of the emotional experience that you have in this codependent relationship? If not, connect more with some of those people, not to simply call them up and say, listen, I need to tell you exactly what I'm dealing with right now, but schedule times, maybe phone calls, or go out to lunch with somebody, or take a walk with a friend or a family member, and ask them how they're doing. Ask them kind of what's going on in their life lately. Connect with them. Also, share a little bit about what's going on with you. And you can share some details about how your relationship is going, how this relationship is impacting you. Connecting more with others is really important to help balance the over dependence on one codependent relationship you have. Letting somebody know how you're really and truly doing is an important part of you accepting truly how you've been thinking and feeling lately. Sometimes we can hear ourselves talk to others and it starts to sink in. Whoa, I really have been anxious lately, or whoa, this really has been exhausting, I guess, now that I think about it. Those are some examples of some of the things that you can think as you start to connect more to others. And finally, the fourth step in what I would call these first few steps in beginning to try to start to heal from codependency, the fourth step is really working on accepting that the relationship that you're in, that you may have determined is codependent, may be causing you more anxiety than is good for you. This is a process. If that's true, if that's what is really going on, if that's what you really feel, that this relationship, this codependent relationship, is causing you as a pattern a tremendous amount of anxiety, you have to really, really mourn the loss of that. Because a lot of times when people are codependent in these relationships, they try so hard to believe that the relationship is good, that the relationship is good for them, even though there are painful emotional times of turmoil. They try really hard to believe that this relationship, as it is really good for them. But that's not always the case. And only you can know if it's good for you by listening to yourself, by listening to your instincts, by looking honestly at how anxious this relationship may have been making you feel as a pattern. You know, is extreme anxiety or constant, recurrent anxiety a purpose in a romantic relationship? These are really issues that you have to think more about. And a lot of times, a first step in healing from codependency is to sort of accept that this old idea that you may have had that this relationship was good as it is maybe needs to be mourned. Maybe there is a loss there. Maybe, in fact, if this relationship is going to continue, maybe you're going to decide actually it needs some changes. It needs some positive changes for you to feel better, for this relationship to feel more workable. So I hope this video has been helpful. I also hope that some of the other videos that I have here in my whole library of videos on my YouTube channel, Dr. Seth Psychologist, are helpful for you. You can also check out my podcast if you want to go deeper into long episodes. It's an audio and visual podcast, Insight with Dr. Seth, and I wish you all the best.